Hi friends, this is Chris. Welcome back to the channel. So we're going to talk about China Evergrande. You know, they declared bankruptcy. I want to go through some of the details and let's just jump right in. So here, China Evergrande Group files Chapter 15 bankruptcy in New York. And I had actually had to look up Chapter 15 because we don't hear this one very often. And this is on Vistapedia. What is Chapter 15 bankruptcy? Chapter 15 is a section of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code that was added in 2005, so relatively new. To provide cooperation between U.S. courts and foreign courts when foreign bankruptcy proceedings touch upon U.S. financial interests. The section was added in response to the United Nations recommendation for cooperation among nations on what it calls, and this is the key part, cross-border insolvency. And I'll repeat, cross-border insolvency. So basically, people don't have any money, and it crosses borders, meaning that multiple countries are involved, hence Chapter 15. We don't hear this one that often, but cross-border insolvency is going to be the word of the day, maybe the century, who knows, but it doesn't sound good. Moreover, let's take a look at more headlines here. China Evergrande giant real estate firm files for U.S. bankruptcy. And I was actually looking at this. It's actually pretty big. So this is Evergrande, and they were saying they had pre-sold 720,000 apartments that had yet to complete at the end of last year. And then basically home buyers frequently took out mortgages to purchase apartments before construction was completed. If you take a look at the picture here, this is a really good picture that they included. The basic gist of it is that these things aren't finished. I mean, you can see right there. And it's not just that the apartment's unfinished. It's also like, if you look, the neighborhood's unfinished. Like, it's really unlivable. Now, you're probably wondering, like, why would people do this? Well, it doesn't sound crazy at the time because essentially, these companies will come out and they'll show you beautiful pictures of a new house, a new apartment, and they say, this is the price. You say, okay, you go get a loan and you pay them the money, and you're looking forward to living in a new place. And if you can actually see the location of this, in this example here, it's on the water. It didn't seem crazy until that they actually don't finish the place, right? And people actually protest and they stop paying their mortgage payments, and basically the money stops flowing. And if with the COVID situation, and if people aren't working, right, then everything stops, right? Meaning that, like, if I'm not working, say I work at Apple or whatever, and then I'm not getting paid from Apple, and then I can't pay my mortgage, and the mortgage company, it's like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? And then they're like, hey, bail us out, government. That may or may not happen. And then, like, the property developers, they need, it's kind of like a pyramid in a way. They need to get more people to buy in the system to keep the thing going. Like, hey, we'll sell you some new apartments, but word gets out that these things aren't being finished. I mean, you guys get the gist of it. It's just that people need to get paid, and when people, when people stop paying each other, the dominoes start falling. Moreover, take a look at this. More headlines. Investors fear China's Lehman moment is looming. And we talked about this recently. If you haven't seen the movie Margin Call, please check it out. It's a very similar kind of situation here, to where I'm sure inside the real estate companies, they have a general idea what's happening. But the idea is, though, they try to keep it secret as long as possible. But when you're declaring bankruptcy, Chapter 15, it's hard to really keep it secret anymore. Moreover, this is also a macroeconomic thing, right? So we'll read some of the details. Now, exports, investment, factory output, and retail sales have all slowed. Talking about China, consumer spending is so weak that while many other parts of the world are grappling with cost of living crisis, prices are falling in China. Jobless numbers are so bad, governments have simply stopped reporting the youth unemployment rate, and the property sector, which accounts for about a quarter of economic activity and 2/3 of household wealth, is in crisis. So if you understand this, and it's not so different around the world, to where, but especially in Asia, though, people kind of generally just talk among families or on the street of like, hey, if you got extra money, just throw it in real estate, because real estate's always good. And again, this is sort of why people get sucked in this stuff, because that's, part of the culture is like, hey, you got extra money, go buy a property, essentially. And so people tried to do that, but if you're in a bubble market, and also too, if like at a point there's just too much easy money, you get people just expecting that it's going to go like that forever, and you had these developers just way over committing, and now you have, again, all these unfinished things, and it's just, you can't do anything with this property unless you finish it, but there's no more money coming in. So it's a really sad situation, actually. And the one thing I'd be curious for those viewers in the USA or Europe or other parts of Asia, have you heard of these scenarios happening to people that to where, again, you see this shiny picture of like a new apartment, house, etc., and you buy into it before it's finished, thinking that's going to be done, and then they didn't finish it. So I don't know of, like in my situation, like if any friends had this happen to them in say U.S. or Europe, but I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on if you've heard of these things before. This is actually really widespread though in China. You can see here, how bad could China's property prices get? In fact, we looked at this picture. I'm going to show it to you again if you didn't see it before in a previous video. This is Zhongrong. So they essentially took a bunch of money from rich Chinese investors. And when the fallout of these things were happening, just kind of the news started leaking out just the last couple of days, they started erecting fences. So this is real. It's just like a zombie movie where essentially they're worried that people are going to come to their office and throw rocks at them or do whatever, drive their car into the building. And who knows what they're going to do? I'm giving people ideas now. But the basic idea, though, is that you're building these fences because you're actually worried about people being so pissed off they're going to like drive to your company and attack you. And you're dealing with like people's, life savings perhaps. So, I mean, it's not a crazy notion to be pissed off enough to actually go to the office if they're not answering your phone, the kind of situation, you know where they are. And it got so bad too. We just talked about in the last video, police actually went to people's houses to warn them not to come to the office and saying everything's going to go okay, but it doesn't seem okay. And in fact, if you been just new to the channel, my book just came out a couple days ago, and I recommend pick it up. It's called Positive Angle. I have a couple chapters in the book because I used to work in the China real estate stuff. And check it out if you have it. If you want to hear my stories, I think you'll enjoy it. Moreover, let's go back to the details of this thing. This is interesting. So they're basically this is Country Garden. This is yet another one. There's multiple involved. So we looked at the numbers yesterday. It was like there's like 38 state-backed enterprises, what they call these things, and it was like I think I want to say 18 out of 38 are losing money like half of the year, and then there was like 11 that were losing money for the full year. And Country Garden, which is the one that was reaching headlines, they missed their payment on August 6th. So it was at 22 million they missed, and then I guess they have until September to try to make things right, but I don't know where the money's going to come from. They also had froze trading on their bonds, so it's hard for them to get money. Moreover, I was reading this here. They were saying this is kind of how widespread this is in China. The Country Garden one, so they build mostly second and third tier cities, right? So it's kind of like newer cities, smaller cities, essentially. And they're saying even though the debts are smaller than Evergrande, so Evergrande's the one that just declared bankruptcy, it affects, is what they're saying here, Country Garden is building 4 times more homes than Evergrande. So Evergrande just declared bankruptcy, but Country Garden is building a lot more homes. So these homes may be like cheaper in value, but it'll affect more people. And then they were saying here, first half of 2022, at least 144,000 buyers will not receive homes they were promised by the end of this year, which is a big problem. So I just want to illustrate how this could affect regular people and why people would fall for this kind of thing, because it didn't seem like a scam at the time, right? And literally too, if, let's say for example you're looking at this building here and you're like, oh, look at this, they've already started construction, they're halfway done, and they're selling me a place that's going to be done in a couple months. It didn't seem like a crazy idea at the time. And it's the same here. Like we live in Korea, if you guys don't know, and they're just building buildings all over the place. And you're like, okay, it looks like it's going to be done soon, so might as well pick up. And there's other properties actually, for example, in our neck of the woods, to where they tore down the old building and there's an empty plot just been sitting there for the last 6 months. So it's really interesting. We're not actually sure if they're going to start construction. And I don't know if it's like this like in USA, to where like you think they're going to build something but they never start, or they're building something that they're like kind of halfway done and they may or may not finish. And they say maybe not, because this is just the world that we live in. I don't know if these things happen so much in USA where we get half-built stuff. That it may be a different system, but again, I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on this. Moreover, some of these people, I was looking at kind of more details of this. It says here, the construction company refused to keep building. Hundreds of home buyers were outraged. They already paid upward of $200,000 and had expected to move in by the end of June. So what are we in August? And so this is sort of like kind of boiling over. Because you guys like, let's say I'm going to move into my new place. And so like maybe I sold my old place, or I started moving or packing my things. Like you're kind of making plans. And so like you have the bankruptcy, plus the people's like missed their move-in date, which is supposed to be in June. And then we can see here, this says, instead home buyers were met with delays, false advertising, and corner cutting. So it's upsetting for just your regular person, and the government is not on your side. Whereas I would hope, at least in the USA, I can sue said company or have some legal protections to like try to get my money back or something of this nature. But in China, you're kind of on your own. It's pretty upsetting actually for regular people. Moreover, they're talking about prices here. So basically, no one has trust in the system anymore. We'll read this here together. The calculation has changed in recent days. Country Garden issue is not one of over-leverage in the style of Evergrande, right? So Evergrande over-leveraged, but Country Garden, however, is trust. Instead, it is a victim of loss of confidence among regular folk, a sign that the government is losing control. After a short rebound following the lifting of COVID-19 controls, the property crisis has intensified. Prices are dropping. Sales among the 100 biggest developers fell by 33% in July compared to the year earlier. Country Gardens tumbled by 60%. So it is interesting when you compare, like it's not just like one type of property developer, it's like hitting maybe all of them. And that's why this is spooking a lot of people here. And moreover, this is saying here that competition could lead to swifter price falls across the industry, pushing people to delay home purchases in hope that the price will fall further. So kind of what's going on here is that the market is tumbling and we all can see it, right? It's all in the public. And so then people are considering buying the house are just waiting the prices to fall further. So you're just like, well, I'm not going to buy anything and I'm just going to just wait until it's over. But like, when is that going to happen? And so that's why it keeps falling further, because no one wants to buy. Again, it's about trust. And moreover, it's not just the property sector. Crypto has been selling off like crazy. So that's all of them: XRP, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, etc. And it's funny because, for those of you who are crypto bulls, I'm not in this stuff at all, but for those who are in this stuff, the notion is all supposed to tell me that, it's disconnected from the regular world. And when property melts down or currency melts down or whatever, banks melt down, I'm just going to throw my money in the crypto. But it doesn't really make sense to me, because it's like, you can't really use crypto to buy food or, property or pay your rent or, whatever. But I don't know what the logic is that like, if everything's melting down, I'm going to throw my money into fake digital coins. But I mean, if you're into that, so be it. But evidently the market's like, nope, I'm getting out. This XRP chart, I was looking at this, it just feels like a big pump and dump. So this is like last couple of weeks, it went up like that and then right back down. So it just feels like a big pump and dump. You guys can see it right there. That's the XRP chart. Moreover, if you look around the YouTube universe, you have all these Tesla pumper people, right? And Tesla's actually, I think they got a demand issue. They got to cut prices in China. So this is the Model S and the X. They're cutting by 7,400 and 8,500. And I get it. If you watch the pumper channels, if Tesla raises prices, Elon Musk is a genius. If they lower prices, Elon Musk is a genius. If they cut production, Elon Musk is a genius. And if they increase production, Elon Musk is a genius, right? That's how they think. The reality is, though, if you're cutting prices, the economy doesn't look so great. And, if you want to try to run a business, but like no one's buying your crap, it's pretty tough for your stock to go up. If you believe that stocks and fundamentals of a company are correlated. So I certainly believe that. I get it. It's been disconnected for far too long, but the free money is ending. And I warned you guys about this stuff. The numbers of Tesla didn't look good. I pointed out very, very clearly, and people writing comments, "Oh, Chris, you're so dumb. My pupper channels tell me everything is fake." And yeah. Whatever. Moreover, all this reiterates the fact of this stuff. So you can see XPeng shares dropped 7% after Chinese electric car maker posts a record quarterly loss. The money is just not there, basically. So XPeng is one of the Chinese EV companies, and someone asked me recently, what about NIO? It's going to be the same. There's a lot of competition. There's no money in the system, and these companies are losing money, and it's a tough place to be. So again, this is where I told you guys, I warned you guys about the Tesla earnings weren't that great. It's fallen, I think, like 25% or something like that since that point. So we were right on that account. But it depends where you live, right? So maybe, where you live in USA or Europe, whatever, things are hunky-dory. But I can see it firsthand here in Korea. So, for example, we've had this big problem here of basically, they call it Villa Kings. It's basically a bunch of rental scams. How it works here in Korea, it's different than in the USA. The basic gist of it is that, you can see here, rental deposit scammers get prison time. The basic gist of it is that if I want to rent a place, maybe I give them 100,000 or, maybe as low as 50,000 or whatever. I give a bunch of money, right? In USA, if you want to rent a place, you give it like, was it 1 month, 2 months rent? So, a couple $1,000 or whatever your rent is. But in Korea, it's like way beyond that. And then what happens is that when you rent out a place, you give a really large deposit, then the real estate person or landlord uses that money to fund another project, right? So they just keep building and building and building, or they use that money to pay someone else that's moving out, right? So there's always a revolving door of money, because essentially when I give someone a deposit, you would think they would just hold on to it, put it in a CD or whatever, so they're not going to lose it, but it's not really like that. So they need your money to pay the last person to move out. What happens is that a lot of these landlord people basically lost all of these people's deposits, and like I said, they could be as large as 100,000 and something of that nature. And this is taught Korea now, and they were taking advantage of a lot of people, and so this is a massive domino. But it's basically representative of everything that's happening, basically people just don't have any money anymore. And this sort of goes back to the kind of the phrase of the day. Maybe we'll use this for the rest of the year. Cross-border insolvency. So that's what's up. That's some of the details of the stuff. Love to hear your thoughts on any one of these things. Please be careful out there, and I'll catch you in the next video.